It's that time again, time for a reading wrap-up. I am gonna cover some of my June books that I read. While I didn't get very many, I will say that they were all hefty books that I did read. So let's jump right in. As you may know, if you've been following some other recaps, I've been rereading the Throne of Glass series with my friend Kayla, who's reading it for the first time. And I, for the first time, decided to do the tandem read of Empire of Storms and Tower of Dawn, which, if you're unfamiliar, normally you would read Empire of Storms first and then Tower of Dawn. They're completely separate people, but it occurs at the same time. So you can read them separately, you're not losing any knowledge, but people also come up with guides on how to read them together. And I didn't do this the first time that I read Throne of Glass, but I actually really enjoyed it. It was kind of an undertaking and having to go back and forth and check where I am, kind of annoying, but the reason that I enjoyed it is because this book is very action-packed. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of character development, just a lot of action through and through. While this one, when I read them all individually, I didn't love this one. I remember finishing Empire of Storms knowing that this one was following Chol, which, by the way, do people say Chol? Because my friend Kayla, when we were in the car, she said kale, and I was like, oh my god, is it kale? That makes so much more sense, but surely I'm not the only one that says chol. But I can't change now. This is my second time reading it, and I just always go back to chol. Anyway, I remember not being very excited about having an entire book around him. Nezrin too, but mostly him, and so I wasn't feeling it. And I will say this is much slower than Empire of Storms anyway, so reading them together, it was kind of nice to have breaks from this one and get the action of this one. This still has a lot of character development. We meet Yrene, who was from Celaena's past, very briefly if you read Assassin's Blade. Yeah, a lot goes on, especially in the later half. It's just definitely more slow-paced than this. Because the other books are so centered around Celaena, Aelin, and Rowan, leading up to this one, you just kind of want more of this. And so, I don't know, if you end up loving Chol in the beginning anyway, then maybe you really love this, but reading them together was just kind of a nice reprieve from the slowness, and then having this one there too. So I do give this one 4 stars, which is the same as what I gave it before. Again, a lot of really great character development and secrets uncovered, but just because of the little bit of slower pace and just me not really loving the characters as much, that's why I prefer this one, which I gave 5 stars. And the end, if you know, it's so heartbreaking, it's gut-wrenching. So then finally, we make it to the last one, the grand finale. This one is very battle heavy, a lot of different POVs happening, so it's a little all over the place, chaotic, but I kind of like that it makes you feel chaotic because it is chaotic. There's so much going on, so much planning and strategy, and feeling like things aren't gonna go the way that you want them to. And yeah, also, if you know, Manon, heartbreaking in the 13. I do remember tearing up the first time I read this one in that part. I didn't this time, but to be honest, I don't generally cry in books. One thing I did want to mention, and I screenshotted this, so if you're in the world of Sarah J. Maas, you'll kind of know what I'm referencing here. For perspective, I read Throne of Glass first. That was my first introduction to Sarah J. Maas. I feel like a lot of people started on ACOTAR. I read ACOTAR second, and then I went to the Crescent City series. So what I wanted to mention is I didn't notice this the first time I read, for obvious reasons, which you'll understand in a moment, but there's a part in Kingdom of Ash where Selena is moving through worlds, and there's a point that in the book it says, she passed through a world where a great city had been built along the curve of a river, the buildings impossibly tall and glimmering with lights. Surely that's the city in Crescent City. I mean, the foreshadowing that she does as an author is incredible, because like she clearly had this planned out, but this book was written, I don't know what year, but well before Crescent City. Crazy. Then there's another line. She passed through a world of snow-capped mountains under shining stars, passed over one of those mountains where a winged male stood beside a heavily pregnant female, gazing at those very stars. Fae. They were fae, but this world was not her world. The next page said, a blast of black power like a gentle summer night slammed into her, not to attack but to slow her down. The winged male's power slowed her just enough. That's gotta be Rhysand, right? Like, oh, it's just so crazy. Like, I never clocked that, obviously reading it for the first time because I hadn't read the other ones. But when I read that, I put the book down and I was just like in awe. So confirm that that's what, like, I'm on the right track of thinking. Anyway, this so good. It's obviously always sad to end a series that you love so much, but I'm glad I reread it because it's been a few years, and that one's obviously 5 stars. All right, so then the second set of books in a different series that I read is the Legacy series by Melissa K. Roehrich. One of the two, I don't know. The first one is Reign of Shadows and Endings, and the premise is that it takes place in this world called Devrim, and it's a world of gods, but the gods are in like a different world and they're not interfering with these other like small worlds. So in this world, Devrim, there's fae, there's humans, and then there's these more elite fae, which are called Legacy. And every, I think it's 5 years, the Legacy get to choose a source. And basically they pick a powerful fae to create this bond with, that then in the end they can pull their power from into their own to help them become more powerful. And there's 5 kingdoms in which these Legacy come from, and they're all different like elements or like have a different power. And it essentially follows this girl Tessa, who ends up becoming a source to Theon. He is in Arius Kingdom, which is the world of endings, I think. They've got like a lot of dark magic. And you just kind of follow their journey of her becoming the source, but her resisting it and finding out that she may not be a fae. And there's a lot of secrets that have been hidden and people that are part of it that know things, but they can't interject because it tempts the fates and stuff. So I will say it was pretty good. It was a slow start. It was a little confusing. I didn't love Tessa or Theon that much, but I really enjoyed some of the side characters. So that kind of kept me wanting to read, and I was curious by the end what was going to happen next. So I give this one a 3.75 stars. It was also a little spicy, so we love that as well. So then I moved to the second one, which is Storm of Secrets and Sorrow. And this, I won't go into too much detail in case it ruins anything for you, but we're just kind of progressing into making the source bond work and uncovering some secrets about Tessa herself and what she is, where her power is coming from, meeting some new people that know things. We get a little more POV from some of those side characters, and I will say I'm still not loving Tessa or Theon. Like, there are parts that are enjoyable, but I feel like their overall personalities I'm not really vibing with, I guess. So this one I gave a 3.75 stars too, but the end, I feel like it gave me a little more than the last one as far as some answers and still some questions that I wanted answering, enough that made me want to continue with the third one. So the third one, Tempest of Wrath and Vengeance, and we're getting more here, definitely. We're uncovering even more about Tessa. People are afraid of her because she's got all of this power that's been revealed in the last book, and there's a lot of complex bonds happening. There's kind of like a love triangle, power triangle between Tessa, Theon, and Luca. Meanwhile, Axel and Luca are facing their own separate challenges about who they are, who they're becoming, and it's much more interesting to me, I will say. There's also some characters that are incredibly interesting that know a lot and are starting to uncover a lot more about the world, what's meant to be, what should be happening. So I enjoyed this one a lot more and gave this one 4 stars. And the final book is coming out this year. I can't remember what month, but I am excited to see how it's going to be all wrapped up in a bow for us. And listen, still not the biggest fan of Tessa. Sorry about it. But Luca, I'm vibing with Luca, and I don't hate Theon as much, so that is a plus. Also, Axel and Kat, love, need more of them. But anyways, that is the other series that I read, and I'm looking forward to reading the final book to just see how it's gonna end, because I really have no predictions, which is kind of nice because I feel like a lot of books you can kind of predict like, oh, it's gonna be some sort of happy ending and whatnot. But this one, I really can't get a feel for how it could end, I guess. So there's still lots of questions, which means the 4th book should be pretty good. But those are actually all on Kindle Unlimited if you are interested in them. They are quite good. They're just a little slow and there's kind of a lot going on, so you just have to be in the right headspace to read it, I think. But anyways, that is my June wrap up, and I've got quite a few good books on my TBR for July. And until then, let me know if you do have any recommendations I could possibly sprinkle in or take place of my current TBR in case they're more interesting. Otherwise, I will see you in another video very soon.